There we go. Hey, good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Sideline Junkies. This is your man, Ben Conti, also known as the Midnight Rider. And this is my guy, KG, the big guy, KG. We're trying to give you guys a wonderful sports show today.
How y'all doing tonight, man? Welcome to this wonderful Taco Tuesday. Where shit doesn't want to work around here. Only thing works around here is us. So,
what's going on, man? I'm sorry.
Nothing much, man. I'm trying to get it right, and the more I try to get it right, the more it don't want to work.
Sometimes you gotta take your hands off whatever you're trying to fix and just.
I'm gonna have to let it go. Yeah. First and foremost, of course, how you feeling tonight?
Well, you already heard the story, so I'm here. I'm just gonna have some fun. We say we're gonna be here for a short time, but we'll see what happens.
Watch how I get us up out of here. Watch how I get us up out of here. First. This is the Tuesday night flight presented by the Sideline Junkies. First and foremost, breaking news that happened earlier today. Travis Kelce hyperextended his knee in practice. That's usually maybe a week or two because you got to get the swelling to go down. And Ross is joining us. I know Ross ain't too happy about this because he broke the news to us. And how you feeling tonight, Ross? Glad you could be here with us tonight.
What's up, Ross?
I'm running laggy today. Just laggy. I'm gonna have to figure out this shit. But how long are they saying he's slated to be out? That's Travis Kelce.
So far, all I've heard was there's no structural damage, no tearing the ACL. So more than likely he's gonna be out for tomorrow night, Thursday night's contest, and he'll probably take it slow and then see what happens after that. That's my guess. I'm not a doctor. You're the king of the sprain, strain, pain, whatever that combination was, where you gave us a deep down breakdown.
Well,
it was a tear, a sprain,
and a strain. Yeah. Now, here's the thing that you should know about hyperextended knees. For those that don't know, who are uninitiated, you're not aquatic. When you hyperextend your knee, this is the knee. If the knee, this is the thigh, this hand right here is the fibula. Hyperextending your knee is it goes backwards, wrong direction, and it hurts like hell. More than anything, it hurts like hell right away, but the pain will subside. But sometimes you come back in a couple of days. You say what?
I said I'm thinking all right. So Ross says he thinks 2 weeks. I think with that long break, I think he'll be available week 2, just because of the long break.
But now here's the thing: today's only Tuesday. We're talking about Thursday. You got to see how he responds.
No, we're not. We're saying he's not playing this week. I know I'm saying that he's not. I don't think he's. Uh-oh. Come on, Doc. School me, Doc.
Here's the thing. I love how Ross said I played doctor with no diploma. I love that. With it, just like with a sprain, like if you sprained your ankle right now, well, not right now, but you a young athlete, you sprain your ankle. An ankle sprain should keep you out 3 days at most. After 3 days, you should be able to put weight on it. You should be able to, run. But in those 3 days, you have to rest. With any sprain, hyperextension, you have to rest and you have to ice. Because the worst part of sprains and hyperextensions and things like that is the swelling. Once the swelling goes down, it's fair game. But you got to ease yourself back into it. So I'm saying, with a hyperextension, if he does play, let's say cortisone shot, Toradol.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Flexeril, any muscle relaxer that take that pain away for a little bit. He's gonna pay for it after he come down. But that plus adrenaline, he could play on Thursday. Would I
But,
recommend it? Not much.
I mean, we're talking about a 17-week season, and this is just game one. I would more than likely just say, plus it's not a conference or division game, so I would just tell him ice it and rest and come back in 2 weeks or come back week 2 and let's get it going. That's just me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. However, you're playing the Detroit Lions. How much firepower do you need for the Detroit Lions? And I can't even say this ain't your grandpa's Detroit Lions, because if it was your grandpa's Detroit Lions, they'd actually be winning something. You know, Detroit back in the 90s was pretty daggone good. Detroit now is getting back to that pretty good stage. They're putting together a pretty good team, draft-wise, free agent-wise, Dan Campbell. But how much firepower does Kansas City need to beat them?
A lot. This was one of the top offenses last year with Goff. So, I mean, they added a running back, Gibbs, who I think they're going to use in multiple ways in the passing game and in the run game. And I just think they're going to – and then the kid, Amon St. Brown, I think he had a breakout year last year, and I think he's going to repeat what he did last year. Then they went and got a tight end, Sam Laporta, from Iowa. And you know what Iowa tight ends do? Talking about Hawkinson, talking about Kittle. So he's got a good bloodline. I think this kid's going to be just as effective. I think they're going to be a team that once they get all their pieces back, you get James Williams back week 5 or 6 after this betting scandal. I think you have a team that's very formidable. And I think they're going to be ready to go Thursday night against Kansas City.
Didn't they? What's the young gentleman name that was the anime fan?
Oh, Williams, Jonathan. I think it's Jonathan Williams.
They didn't lose him, did they?
Yes, they did. His 18 touchdowns is now residing in New Orleans. He took all his anime and all his Pokemon cards. Excuse me. I know how you get about certain things. Yeah, he took that stuff with him to New Orleans.
I thought he was on a rookie deal, but okay.
Nah, he's been around for a minute.
Okay.
Now I might have said his name wrong, but I know it's Williams, and I know he went to BYU.
Okay. So we looking at out on week 2. Out on week 1, back on week 2 for Kelsey. And are we calling Thursday night's game a slobber knocker? Early?
There's gonna be some fireworks.
Okay.
This might be a you know what? I'll indulge you. This might be a Taylor Swift special. When we get some fireworks.
Is it gonna be a shootout?
A real shootout, not a KG shootout. Yes.
We got to bring that back this season. All right, I got a question. And this is for everybody listening. I got a question of the night.
Jamal Williams.
I
knew Jonathan didn't sound right.
Okay, here's my question for the night. And I'm dead serious in this because I guess I want to know if people are like me. At any point in your life, what is your favorite all-time football stadium?
Man, is this a trick question?
No.
I mean, there's only one stadium. I mean, that's RFK. I don't care what everybody else has done or said. I've been there. I was part of the fabric of that. So there's nothing like RFK. You can't recreate it. I mean, even some of the best moments in FedEx, the Jacksonville 3-touchdown game from Moss that they won in overtime, the Sean Taylor return of the block kick, like those crescendos were loud, but I don't know if it was quite, even with all those people, I don't think it was ever still like that RFK where I remember having to yell to the person next to me to try to get their attention. So definitely, So I know I'm biased, but yeah.
Okay, not a problem. Now, see, be honest. Growing up, when I first really got deep into football, I had 4 stadiums I love more than anything.
All right, I'm gonna guess them. This is welcome to the new edition of I Think I Know My Co-Host, starring the Midnight Rider and his guy, KG. All right, so you have 4 stadiums.
4 stadiums.
Soldier Field,
No.
Cowboy Stadium,
Hell no.
Candlestick,
No.
Memorial Stadium.
No.
All right, guys, I suck at this game. Now back to our regularly scheduled show.
My 4 stadiums. Number 1. Well, number 4 was the Astrodome.
Okay.
The House of Pain. That was my number 1. That was my number 4 favorite. Number 3, Joe Robbie Stadium. Down in Miami. The orange, but you know, I don't know why, but I loved it. Number 2 was RFK. My number 1 favorite stadium growing up as a kid was Rich Stadium. Buffalo. Yep. My number 1 favorite stadium.
I would have never gotten, besides RFK, I wouldn't have gotten any of that other stuff right.
No,
and I did. Because I figured you'd be like, oh, the Soldier Field or Lambeau because of the history. Memorial Stadium because of your boy, Johnny U. Just, all right. So much for thinking I know your thought process.
The thing with Rich Stadium, I loved it because that's when they had carpet. They had the old not AstroTurf. They actually had carpet.
Okay.
And I loved the way the field looked. And then, you know, we had a thing in the house growing up. My cousin was a Buffalo fan. I was a Redskin fan. And no, Xavier wasn't RFK. RFK's number 2. So we would watch Washington on one TV. Then we had another 13-inch underneath the other 13-inch. And we'll watch Buffalo. So we'll watch both games at the same time. So I watched a lot of Buffalo games in the 90s. And seeing it in the snow, when it would rain, how the water would just collect and you just slide across it became one of my favorites. Of course, RFK, because I've seen that on a regular basis. It's in my backyard. Joe Robbie Stadium, I can't even tell you why I used to love that stadium. I don't know why. I thought the grass was pretty. It was sunny. I guess it's because it was Florida. But now, the House of Pain, the Astrodome, because it was indoors, it was carpet. And I remember watching the Oilers on Monday night. And I always loved Warren Moon when he had Alan Pinkett, Alonzo Highsmith. He had 5 receivers that could dominate a game.
Mike Rozier.
Mike Rozier was the other running back as well.
Haywood Jeffries, Ernest Givens, Drew Hill, 85, 81. Spencer Haywood or who's 5? You got a number for number 5?
I can't remember the number, but I remember the name.
Who's 5?
Curtis Duncan.
He came in. Okay, yeah. He wore number 80.
I believe so. And I always thought that they had so much great chemistry, and I love watching them play. I love watching them play. I
know Curtis a lot of those numbers because
Haywood Jeffries, yep. But that I just wanted to talk about stadiums since we're going into football season.
No, that's what's up, man. I like that.
I got this one for you. Hold on, before we do this one. This is like a local one. Let me see if this work for me.
What's going on, folks? We're gonna hit you with something a little different. Normally on Tuesdays we do the Joe the Fan segment, but tonight, just because of scheduling, we're going to put that on the back burner this week, and we're going to just do a quick rundown for you. Just kind of quick hits on each of the local teams, trying to give you just some information. Try to hit all the teams for you. Don't know if we can because I don't know how much hockey we have. I do know. Let's start there. Let's start with the Caps since I got the hat on. I know the Caps have been having some workouts. I know Kuznetsov has been one of the featured or one of the people they've been glad to see at these workouts. They really need a big season from him. They need him and I want to say it's Michael Banta to have good seasons. They acquired Banda last year or a year ago, and they just haven't been healthy. So if they can get those two guys to help the older guys come along, and I know they're going to play some younger guys. So this is going to be a different team for us than we're used to when it comes to the Caps. We're going to see some young guys, some guys that haven't played in a while. The Washington Wizards. We should be coming up on preseason training camp soon because that's just around the corner. Like once September hits, this schedule goes downhill, and we start moving into a lot of things. One thing we won't lack, content, because everything's content. Let's talk Washington Nationals real quick. For the Washington Nationals, we have a team that's lost 5 games in a row. And the stat of the day, brought to you by the Grant and Danny Show, is if you take the record of the Nationals versus the Marlins away from both teams, the Nationals end up having the better record of the two. The Marlins, the last 2 years, have put a whooping on the Nats in head-to-head. This year, they've struggled. Last year, I think they only won 2 games against the Marlins last year. So they've exceeded that amount, but it ain't by much. Also, you have the young pitchers starting to look like they're starting to wear down. Josiah Gray pitched on Saturday, gave up 3 runs in the first inning, and only lasted 4. So you're going to start seeing guys like Mackenzie Gore coming out of the lineup or coming out of the pitching staff. You probably will see some younger guys. You might have a chance to see Jackson Rutledge, one of the guys down in AAA, their first-round pick from a few years back. Then, last but not least, we have the Washington Commanders. The real quick update on them is Terry McLaurin is looking good in terms of his foot. There's still no real word on Chase Young. It looks like probably going to be more cautious. We do get a Wednesday injury report, so that's going to be big for us to pay attention to. That's actually going to be huge for us to pay attention to. A familiar face was in town this week. Jamison Crowder came in for a workout today. I'm not sure about you, KG. But the last thing I remember of him was he was the guy that was muffing punts and fumbling when he was playing punt return. So I was kind of glad to see him go a little bit. I think he had that one breakout year with Kirk, and then he just was never the same after that. And I think some of that had to deal with Kirk not being here. Did I miss anything?
I don't think you missed anything. Going back to the Caps, Ross says the power play is going to look different, which is a good thing because I know the Caps have struggled on power plays for like the last 3 seasons. So
we need to get them better in the faceoffs because they've been getting killed in that too, and some of that has a effect on your power play. Got to control the puck.
Got to control the puck. Speaking of Caps, Alan May, is he still on? Now we don't have what is it now? What was it? Comcast Sportsnet, NBC Watch. Now that we don't have that anymore, is he still on? He's still around.
So let's not forget the sports network used to be, what was this? NBC Sports Washington.
Yeah.
It's now become Monumental Sports.
Okay.
So there's no way Ted Leonsis is going to switch this product over and not have some kind of pregame and postgame show. I think that's actually been his focus the whole time, is to create this pre and post game and try to have everything creating content for the station. So I wouldn't say that Alan May isn't around. I'd wait and see who they bring out. They may keep the same people they had last time, which was Alan May. And I think Jordan Giorgio was the main host. So we'll see.
Okay. Now, see, I asked that because, when it comes to certain things, especially when it comes to the Caps, smoking Al Koken and the man that Doc Walker calls violence, Alan May. Like, I loved hearing them on 980 back in the day. And I say back in the day, like it was like 20 years ago. But I
mean, if we think about it, if you look at and broke down the DC sports casters, I mean, we've been pretty spoiled. You had Phil and Buck for many years. You had Sonny, Sam, and Frank for 20, 30 years. Even now with Joe Beninati, what's the other guy's name? I can't think of his name now. But the high pitch voice, Joe B.
Yeah, that's Joe B.
No, not Beninati. The other one.
God, I
come on, Ross. I know you know because I see his face. But having those two in the booth for almost 20 years, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just
Craig
don't
Laughlin.
think he is.
Thank you, Ross. Craig Laughlin.
Yeah, I just don't think we miss out on that. And then go ahead and get your shout out to your man from Georgetown. He's another star. Yeah,
Hoyas win. Like he has, what is his record? I think his record is 19 Hoyas wins after a big win. I think it's 19. Like I live for that. I live for Rich Vodkin. I started listening to Georgetown on the radio because of him. It's a lot of local guys. When you talk local sports, it's a lot of local guys. I don't know if you remember Puck Daddy, Greg Wyshynski.
Don't.
Yeah, he used to come on 980 regular too because it was.
I didn't listen to 980 that much.
Oh God, you missed out on a treat because you had Wyshynski, you had Alan May. Of course, you had Smoking Al. That's with the three people I got my hockey from that I learned the most. Of course, you love Rich Vodkin. I do at least. God, what's my man? Chris Nockey. That's another one. I love Chris Nockey on Maryland broadcast. The coach. I forget where he's coaching and if he's still coaching. But Chris Nockey was another one I love listening to. When you talk about local broadcasters, this is where broadcasters teach you something. And you talk about Ted and this monumental thing. Let me bring it full circle. If Ted wants to make the fans happy, Wizard fans, let me say that, Wizard fans, switching gears a little bit, put Buck and Chenier back together. Because that's what everybody loved listening to.
That's not happening. That's right up there with things that's just not gonna happen because they gotta start catering to the next generation of fans and Buck and them, the generation that Buck got it through their Wizard fandom, their Bullets fandom, is they got grays in their beard. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, look.
So
I don't know.
It's time for them to start, catering to a different audience and help building up that part of the fan base. Probably concentrating more on some analytics, some different stats and things of that nature. I know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Because I was going. I didn't mean to cut you off. Long shot. If you want to cater to the younger generation, why not bring in Chris Webber?
I don't think you want to bring in Webber because I don't think he's that good. I don't think he's that good.
Oh, we differ.
It's a good thing you're not one of my. Hey, it's a good thing you're not one of our sports groups because Chris Webber gets dragged through the coals, boy. Woo. I think he's okay, but I think I like Drew Gooden because it's a guy that's not a superstar. What's the radio guy? The two radio guys that they do for basketball because they're good. Dave Johnson and what's the tall guy's name? All right, Ross, you gotta bail me out again. because I know when I hear his name because Danny does a great impersonation of him. But the radio team is good for basketball too. They need some love, but I think I like the two guys they have now. They're decent. They're not gonna. I think they're gonna build some chemistry and they're gonna go for a minute. I think they really got hurt because I think they really wanted to build it around Kara Lawson. Have that female voice, and then when she got the Boston job, I think that threw a monkey wrench in their plans, and they had to go figure it out. I actually like their pregame show. That's pretty good. Actually, all their pregame stuff is pretty good.
Here's the thing. When you go in the kitchen and you start messing with stuff, sometimes you start messing with the recipe, you kind of fuck it up. Ross says, is it Glenn Console?
Glenn Console, yes, sir. That's it.
All right.
I knew you would know.
And if you go around the area, of course, when it comes to Commanders, it's whoever's on Fox. Normally, it used to be you didn't really get Aikman and Buck mostly, but you would get
Oh God, let's not talk about it. Not talking about the last couple guys we've had because we've had Chris Meyer and Enter the Random Color guy.
Greg Olsen, I'm thinking about. We normally get Greg Olsen.
Not often,
but he's the
big name. Yeah, but most time what was that? Oh, what was that guy's name? We had some dude I used to hate when he did our games because I knew it was just that meant we were at the bottom of the barrel. Chris Myers is one of them, but it's Dick Stockton. Whenever we got Dick Stockton in the last couple of years he was doing it, Dick Stockton didn't know what was going on. He forgot where he was at half the time. It was probably changing his depends in between quarters.
I'll give you Dick Stockton. I'll give you.
I'm talking Dick Stockton the last 5-10 years.
That's like remember they bumped Summerall down after Madden left. After a while they bumped Summerall all the way down, and I was like, yeah, that's beneath Pat, man.
Yeah, but Pat was a package deal.
Yeah, but the thing is, Pat Summerall was doing football before Madden ever was.
Right, I remember that.
So, but it's certain voices that you just love to hear.
Well,
and I like
Saturdays at 3:30. I love a little Vern Lundquist and Gary Danielson on the SEC big game. Love that. I don't think Vern's doing it anymore, but he was great while he did it. Trying to think anybody else I can think of college wise.
Did you like Alan Pinkett doing the Notre Dame games
on the radio?
You didn't like him on TV?
I don't remember him being on TV.
He was only on TV for like a season, and then something happened and they took him off TV. It was like some sort of scandal or something, I believe it was, and he got taken right off TV.
Well, I think you and anybody that's friends with me know that I didn't like Tommy Dungy. I definitely didn't like Baby Collinsworth, and I didn't like what's the new one, Jason Garrett. I do love Tirico, but
you're probably one of the few that actually like Tirico.
I think Tirico does a great job setting it up.
That's what it was.
The same guy that everybody else will probably hate on Colin Cowherd, but I'm a big Colin Cowherd guy. I love it because he always makes me think about something. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It was back in 2012. Alan Pinkett was on WSRC. I'm sorry, WSCR. And he said there's nothing wrong with having a few bad citizens on Notre Dame's roster and that a team full of choir boys wouldn't win many games. Given a chance to clarify his remarks, Pinkett claimed that winning teams always had a couple of criminals on their roster. Notre Dame athletic department harshly condemned Pinkett's remarks, and IMG suspended him for 3 games. He was done after that season.
It's pointless. I mean, you gotta let these guys. I mean, he's not speaking anything that's not a fact. I mean, the only thing that's wrong is him saying it for Notre Dame. Kind of puts the damper on the old days of the Catholics versus the convicts T-shirts.
Yeah. And Ross says he's a Tarico guy. If the boss BJ was here, he'd probably get up and walk out. He can't stand Tarico. But that's crazy because you talk about announcers, whether they're local or national. I like Collinsworth.
Now here's a guy. Now here's a guy. Now here's a guy. Now here's a guy. So I'm like, all right, here's a guy that does what, Chris? And then it was one year he acted like, was it Jalen Hurts? It was somebody. He acted like they had just invented the RPO. Like he was just talking about the RPO. I'm like, Chris,
he was fascinated. Everybody was fascinated with the RPO when you first saw it.
No, but this was like 2 or 3 years ago. He was acting like it just came out. I'm just like, what are we doing here? Collinsworth, you're killing me.
Who else was it? I mean, jumping back locally, I mean, you got a list of guys, and you know, we talked about this before. The radio booth for the Commanders is going to change after this year. I'm 98% sure it's going to change.
Right.
I think that I think Cooley will be back because that's somebody that needs to be on local radio for his knowledge, his post-game breakdowns. I think most people don't like it. Most people didn't like it. And Ross, anybody in the comments, please chime in. But locally, after a game, there was nothing better than listening to Kevin Sheehan and Chris Cooley at 6 a.m. Win, lose, or draw, there was nothing better than listening to them.
I listen to Cooley. I try to ignore Sheehan.
One day we're gonna get into that. What is your problem with him?
Here's the guy. Here's the guy. Here's the guy.
Ross
now,
says
here's the guy.
Worth guy.
Now, here's the guy.
I like Collinsworth, but that's probably because I played so much Madden and hear his voice all the time. And it needs to change as far as the Commander's radio booth. And Ross says it needs to change. Eric Wheeler chimed in. Bram Weinstein drives me crazy.
Wait, I know. Go ahead.
I gotta agree with him because he drives me crazy too.
Yeah, I think he's a bad choice. I think they gotta get younger, a younger guy in the booth and kind of let that booth grow together again in that scenario. And Cooley, I think, is good. I think Ross. Like Ross is hitting all cylinders today. I prefer Goldie over Sheehan.
Hold on, I didn't prefer Goldie over Sheehan. I love Goldie. I still love Goldie. It's just that Sheehan was Goldie is our generation. Sheehan's before us. He's the generation before. So Sheehan was always that's where I got all my stories from. The Gus Johnson story. I got that from Sheehan. Right. Like, I knew Gus Johnson was a legend, but for him to walk into, I want to say it was a Kenner League game at Coalfield with the flight suit on at halftime, dropped 60, put his flight suit back on, and walk the fuck back out. Like, it's these legendary conversations, they come up. And then I love the way Cooley and Scott Van Pelt, because they so tight. I love how they banter back and forth when he's on the show. And then also I love when Sheehan does the weather and he starts talking about models and, this is what we got, because he's more accurate than most of the daggone weather people in the area. So
if you say
just my opinion. We saying local, Ross says Bram's timing is off. He's over top screaming on the mic for a 6-yard run, not the guy. Yeah, but it seems like his excitement sometimes, it just seems like unenthused. It seems fake. Like when you got that from, of all people, Larry Michael seemed like it was genuine. Sonny was genuine. Sam was genuine. You hear from Doc on the sideline, it's genuine. Frank Herzog, that every time Washington scores, and I could go back through the football season, the whole touchdown, so and so, touchdown, Redskins from Frank Herzog. That's my post every time we score because that's where I get it from. That's the classic line. But it's like if you look at all our local broadcasters for game broadcasters, only one that has a signature catchphrase that has made it around the country is Buck's dagger.
Charlie Slows and Curly W. That's pretty popular. Remember where you are, so you remember where you were. Is a popular Charlie Slows thing as well. I'm not even bring them up. I feel like I did them a disservice. But our baseball guys are great at it. And I love FP Santangelo, but I guess his little situation wasn't something they could deal with. And now you got Kevin Franzen, who's just as good as FP. So yeah, I think, like I said, I think we're just lucky with some of the coverage we get, and we gotta kind of appreciate the moment because we've been brought up on some good sportscasters. I mean, even if we go back to the George Michaels, Glenn Brenners of the world, I mean, like we've been spoiled with a lot of that.
Let me get to this comment first. Ross said it's forced when we're talking about Brian Weinstein. I agree with you. I agree with Ross 1,000%. I agree with Eric 1,000%. Frank Herzog, touchdown, Washington Redskins. Like, I hear that in my mind always. I've been trying to get that as a ringtone for quite some time. I might have to make it myself. We were talking either yesterday or Sunday. We were talking about local sports and we were talking about the sports machine and stuff like that.
That was Sunday morning.
And I thought about it. I found a clip of the old intro of the sports machine from like 84. And it just made me smile because before there was ESPN, we had the sports machine, and the sports machine was seen all around the country. That wasn't just a local thing. That was all around the country. That was our piece that we gave to the country.
And I can't remember if it was on the sports machine or if he would do that like on a Wednesday, but we got a lot of wrestling out of George Michaels, and I can't remember if it was a staple of this machine or if it was a staple of like one day during the week.
It was Wednesday and it was on the sports machine.
Okay.
Because he had, like, I never seen bull riding until I watched George Michael.
Right.
You know, and that was the thing. You stayed up and to watch the 11 o'clock news just to see George Michael. Because they wouldn't, most guys would get maybe 10 minutes. Like I remember Wally Bruckner and on 5, he would get 10 minutes. But then remember, we used to get Sports Extra at 10:30.
Right.
So, you know, on Channel 9, it was like they would run through it sometimes, but you had to catch Channel 9 at 6 because we didn't have news at 4, 5, and 6. It was 6 o'clock news. That was it. But you had to catch Glenn Brenner at 6 because he had 20 minutes.
Right.
You know, of course, it's a picture I have. It's Sonny, George, Glenn Brenner, somebody else, but it was all 4 stations out at Redskins training camp, and they were all on TV at the same time. I think it was for the No, it wasn't for the Super Bowl because Glenn Brenner was in the hospital. That he passed the day of the championship game. So I don't know. It might have been for the '87 Super Bowl, but they were all 4 together covering a game, and all of them got along so well. It was like, why not do this every night? Why not just give them a show where they're doing this?
Well, then you also had Redskin Sidelines where you had the studio audience, and they would have the Sonny and can't remember, was the host of that, or was that somebody else?
Which one was that?
Redskin Sidelines. I think that might have been Glenn. It might have been Glenn Brenner and Sonny because I think it was a Channel 9 show at first.
Yeah, and then they made a Redskin Report.
And yeah,
that was on Channel 4.
Yeah,
because Redskin Report during football season, Full Court Press during basketball season.
Right.
And Redskins Report had George, Sonny, Riggo, who was number 4. I can't remember who the hell was number 4.
Well, at one point you had Mike Wise on the show, but
Yeah.
before that, I can't remember who else was on there. I don't remember if Wilbon was on it or not.
No, Wilbon was on Full Court Press.
Okay.
And that's how I became. That's how I became a Wilbon guy. Him and Cornhouse. I read
Hey,
that.
hey. Hey, KG, I think I gotta give me a second. I gotta hold on, okay?
Okay. And Eric, you say Glenn Brenner. Glenn Brenner. And we had to do our Mount Rushmore of sportscasters in the area. I think it has to be Glenn Brenner, George Michael, and then after that, you might could put Warner Wolf up there if you want, if you old enough. But it's like nobody touched those guys. Those guys are royalty, man. And to say that we lived in a time we actually experienced 4, 7, and 9, and they had some of the best sports reporters. Rennie Knott was another one. I enjoyed him. I remember meeting him at ESPN Zone. He came down and when we first opened, and he did his show from there. But it's guys that in the area now, you know, of course they're on the national scene, but we talk about local ties. Ain't nothing better than I think we had probably some of the best sportscasters in the country. And I'm being biased here, but I'm okay to be biased, right? Who else was I thinking of? We had this conversation. We were talking about just everybody, and then going through with the teams. It's like we don't have that. The sportscasters for the teams, that the broadcasters that are doing the games, they don't have that chemistry that the older guys used to have. You know, I wasn't a fan of Larry Michael off the break. I'm not going to lie about that. I wasn't a fan of his off the break. He grew on me. We talked about Buck and Phil. That shouldn't have never been broke up, but I knew that was coming when they moved them from the sideline and moved them up in the stands. We knew that was coming. But for the most part, I don't think our sportscasters and our broadcasters could be touched at one point. Just my thought.
I mean,
things.
Think about our reporters. I mean, we've had so many guys come through DC for a stop, and then next thing you know, you turn on ESPN, turn on ESPN2, turn on ABC, and that used to be our reporter.
Lindsay Zoniak.
Mm-hmm.
When ESPN come calling.
Didn't we have Diana Rossini?
Yeah. She what was she? Was she NBC Washington, or was she? I think no. Lindsay Zoniak was Channel 4. She was NBC. Yeah. I think Diana Rossini was NBC Washington.
Something like that.
So,
but if Julie, not Julie Donaldson. What's the other one? I can't think of her name now.
We had quite a few come through here. Eric Wheeler says Warner Wolf had big shoes to fill coming back after Brenner passed away. Yeah,
definitely.
One of my favorite Warner Wolf lines is when he was reeling it off. Let's go to the videotape. Yep. I love that. And only problem is it doesn't translate now because people are gonna look at you crazy. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it translated back then. You know, man. Now we've been all around the mulberry bush here.
So we had our fantasy football draft.
Yeah,
I heard there were some technical difficulties for you and the man Ross.
Yeah, yeah.
But since you didn't get into the thing, but you still picked your team. I mean, you saw your team.
It was when you don't get in, it auto drafts for you. But I didn't even set up a board. Right. And I got a pretty decent team to say the least. You know, I picked up Sam Howell. I got him in one of the late rounds. Deshaun Watson, Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders, Chris Godwin, Garrett Wilson, Hunter Henry, Christian Watson, who I'm looking to move, Chris Boswell in the Chargers defense, as well as, of course, I said Sam Howell, Boston Scott, Cortland Sutton, coming off the bench, Cole Kmet, Greg Zuerlein, and the Panthers defense. So I'm still doing a little wheeling and dealing here and there, but I'm looking forward to defending my title this year. Not even gonna lie about it.
I sold my soul, I think, because I had to get my boy. I couldn't get Bijan, so I had to get the next best thing. Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that's official. If not, we'll see. I know there's been talks. So we'll see how the league does that. But no, I thought it was pretty decent. I don't know how, for me, I always end up at the back end of the draft. I don't mind it, but literally, I've done. That would be my third draft in the last week. And yeah, I was either 15th or 6th. I think I was 15th in this draft. And all the other ones, I was either like 11 or 12. So you work the turn. And I apologize to anybody that drafts before or after me, because I don't take any time making my pick. I already know what my pick is, because I already looked out ahead. And sometimes I know some people worry about average ADP, average draft position. I thought when I'm at the end of the draft, I throw it out the window because I get what I want. So somebody will get drafted a little bit higher because of that. But there's a couple people I'm trying to move. And then I missed out on Garrett Wilson. He was another person I had pegged early. And between being in my car and trying to get the 2 picks in before, I just messed up a little bit, but I'm still good.
That's where I was at. I was in the car. I was doing a little work, and I was in a bad neighborhood with no reception. Brand new neighborhood, no reception. And Xavier didn't miss nothing. It was terrible. It was terrible. I couldn't even set up the daggone draft order.
So when I got in, it was funky at first, but then I knew people had missed it because there was one stretch in the draft where it was like ping, 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 ping. I was like, hold on, time out. Nah. I'm not drafting with clones. You know what I'm saying? It's not a bunch of me making these moves. So I know, and then I can tell by the way the board was dropping off, it was just best available.
Agreed.
So that's when I knew, all right, I knew it was going to throw me off because once you start doing best available, some of the people that you're looking at that will normally slide through the cracks get taken beforehand because of the way the ranking system is set up.
And you know what? I had a thought earlier today. I said, mostly everybody has their own picture for their fantasy football team. The first year we did this, I think it was 2019. My fantasy football profile picture of all things was Bray Wyatt.
Wow.
It was the Fiend mask. And my theme that year was just let me in. That's all I need. Just let me in. And that was my for 3 seasons, two or 3 seasons. Nope, 2 seasons. It was the Fiend mask. Last year I changed it over to in protest. It was in protest. I changed it over to Rick James because my wife wouldn't let me buy a car. So because she wouldn't let me buy a car, I was like, all right, this is how I'm gonna start dressing. And she really wasn't feeling it. So let me show y'all that. That's what I was rocking. I told her I was gonna dress like that from now on because she won't let me have a car.
Okay.
So
glad you don't do that for the show.
Huh?
Glad you don't do that for the show.
Oh no. That's only just when I'm here, when we go in place. She be like, dress real nice. And I'm like, all right. And I'll put something like that on. Or I'll put some leather pants on and a blazer with some body glitter and an ascot. And I just run around and tell her, you were cold as ice. Here we are 2 years in. I'm still protesting, trying to get my car, man. So,
oh boy.
Eric say y'all need to do a keeper league, then the real GMs will shine. Yeah, I thought about that too. I need more information on the league.
So they've had one. I think it's Eric, Sean. I think they started back in like 90. So I was in college. So that's at least 98. So I want to say they've been doing this since like 91 or 92. It's a keeper league. You just most leagues do. I was in another keeper league with some guys from Enterprise, and the way we did ours was you got to keep 4 people from your draft, and basically they were the first 4, so your best 4 players, and then you just start drafting after that. You start with the first round, do it by how you finished, and you snake the draft based off the team records all the way through. I don't know how they do theirs, if they do a whole new draft or if they do by your record or not. The other one I was in, we got to keep 2 players, but they couldn't be from the same position. And wherever you drafted that player, you lost that pick. So if I put Bijan Robinson in the first round and decided to keep him, in this keeper league, I can only keep him for 1 season. So that basically I had 2 years of Bijan. I would have 2 years of Bijan, and then after that, I'd have to pick a whole new keeper. So I mean, keepers are. I like keepers because it makes you think and plan ahead. Like I had a league. I had the Enterprise League. I think I had some combination of LT and I had Larry Johnson and LaDainian Tomlinson as my 1 and 2 backs for a minute. I had Calvin Johnson and Chad Johnson as my receivers at some point. Every year I drafted TJ Houshmandzadeh.
TJ, how's your Mazzilli?
Championship. That was my guy. He was always like my 3rd or 4th receiver. And if I didn't draft him, I traded for him. That's a trade you could probably get over on me because I need TJ on the squad. Trying to think who else did I have like that. So like this year, I got a list, and number 1 on that list is Jahmyr Gibbs. I think I have him in every league I'm in, and if I can get this trade with Ross to go through, I'll have him in every league I'm in, and I will overpay for my guy. There's a story of the year. There was a running back for the Chargers that came out, and I was trying to give up my whole draft for him. I didn't care. I would literally just, I just want to take whatever comes off the waiver wire. I can make it work. Of course, that guy was a bust. It only lasted like 2 seasons. But nothing's worse than the Travis Henry story. Travis Henry going to Denver. All I can think of is that's 2,000 yards in the bag. He's a one-cut runner in a one-cut system. Needless to say, the baby mama situation killed all that. I think he only played like 4 games. I paid for that one
dearly,
but hey, it don't matter. That's why we play, because if you don't play your hunch, then you sitting back looking like second guessing yourself. I play all my hunches.
Okay. Eric said we started back in 95, I believe, back when I had to calculate the scores from the Monday box score in the Washington Post.
Yeah, and if my guy Matt Catlin was on here, he used to do our league for Enterprise, and he'd get the paper and he'd go through and do the math and figure it all out. And at a certain point, I'm like, dog, we like 7 years in, ESPN will do this for you. He's like, nah, I can't. So like we had to fight him for 2 or 3 years to get it online. But I got why he kept it a certain way, because it was easier for him to follow and easier for us to keep track of like what the keepers were and all that stuff. But yeah, keepers, I love keepers, because again, it's like Eric said, he show you the real GMs. And sometimes you can come out and boom, you pick the right, you pick it right, or you make the right deal. You come out smelling like roses.
Agreed.
That's why nobody understands the Josh Gordon love. Josh Gordon won me at least 2 fantasy titles. At least 2.
Eric says at one point I had unstoppable Jeff Blake, Corey Dillon, Carl Pickens, and Shannon Sharp. Good grief. I'm sorry, Sterling Sharp. Good grief. Oh, he said he forgot Curtis Martin. Curtis, my favorite Martian. Good grief, man. Yeah, that's unstoppable right there. Yeah, those 9 now. The Cincinnati didn't win much, but when you had Jeff Blake, Corey Dillon behind him, Carl Pickens on one side, Darnay Scott on the other, I was like, why can't they win?
They had no defense.
And they had Dick LeBeau. They had Dick LeBeau and Bruce Cosley.
Yeah, but they didn't have any talent on defense.
Was it? Wait, am I? You had Dan Wilkinson for.
Dick LeBeau was the head coach. He wasn't the defensive coordinator.
I had to laugh because you had people there. Y'all just didn't know how to use them. Oh man, what was that? That was Cincinnati Bengals. He was defensive coordinator 97 and 2000. D coordinator 84 to 91. No. Head coach 2. That was Bruce Cosley then. That wasn't Dick LeBeau. He didn't coach them until 2000.
Okay.
Bruce Cosley. Cincinnati Bengals 85. Interim head coach 96 to 2000. Well, interim head coach in 96 and head coach. Yeah, that was Cosley. That's why they brought in LeBeau, because they didn't have no defense.
Right. All right, so let's do a get out question, because we're so elegantly at the time.
Yeah. You got 2 minutes.
So your fantasy your fantasy stuff for this year. The one guy that you think is gonna have a big year, regardless of position.
For anybody, all over fantasy, or just me?
Just all over fantasy, not just you.
Whew.
It can't be all about you, KJ.
I mean, of course, Aaron Rodgers, but fantasy stud Brock Purdy.
You think Brock Purdy is gonna be a stud? All right, so I didn't ask for like bold predictions. I said stud, right?
I think Brock Purdy's gonna, because here's the thing: he don't have to look over his shoulder. Number one. Number two, he's still returning all of his weapons.
Okay. Number 3, he still got that elbow.
Crossbody. That way you don't have to go like this. Crossbody.
All right.
Crossbody.
This guy I'm picking up in a couple leagues. I think Jared Goff is going to have a crazy season. He was one of the top QBs last year. I think the only reason he was like 3rd or 4th. I think the Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, those guys kind of beat him out. But I think he's going to be around. And if you got him, play him. If you don't have him and he's on the waiver wire, get him. So, yeah.
All right.
Eric or Ross, y'all got one before we get out? Because we got like a minute left.
Quickly. Waller. Ross says Waller. Yeah, he's in New York now.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah,
Waller.
Waller.
That's what team he's on.
Yeah, Waller. Yeah.
That's what fantasy team he's on. Oh, yes, sir.
We'll talk trade later.
Hopefully I ain't trade him for Jahmyr Gibbs. Knowing me, who knows? I think I sent like 4 trade requests. Like the draft was over at 8:05 or whatever. At like 8:10, I had sent like sent one to Scott, sent one to Ross. I think I sent one to you or somebody else. Like I'm ready. This GM don't sit around. I get what I want. If I can't get what I want, then I'll wait a little bit. But here's the funny stat. The last 2 leagues I won, I left the draft. You know, on ESPN, they'll tell you, like, they'll predict your team out. And I've been predicted to finish last twice. probably more times than that. But the 2 times I won, I was picked to finish 10th. And both times, because of the way I drafted, my running backs kicked in at a certain point, and we got hot. Good to go, baby. Championships. So, go ahead.
Well, moment of silence for the champion. For those of us who make going hard a lifestyle. For those that can't wait and got to get it right now, I'm a champion. A little Ron Artest for you before we get up out of here. But we almost made it. Close.
Kobe passed it to me.
Oh, man. Thursday, we coming back. We're going to preview a little bit of the season. We're going to talk.
Let's have our picks lined up.
Yeah,
so
we can just rapid fire. Because
we can shoot right through them. Let's shoot through the divisions because I'm just watching that on NFL Network. So let's shoot through our picks. Try to get that out of the way, and then we can do a quick preview.
Yeah, and we got to stick to the time limit because it's Thursday. It's food that need to be ate and cooked, so we got to stick to the time limit on Thursday. So until Thursday, that's the big. I'm the big guy, KG. That's the Midnight Rider. I'm the big guy, KG. Man, we don't do no overtime.
We'll get us out of here in 30 minutes. I promise you.
We would have been. It's always my fault. Then when I start cutting folks off, it's all like I'm gonna start cutting mics from now on. I'm gonna start cutting mics off, man.
30 minutes, dog. I'm only doing 30 minutes.
I'm gonna just start cutting mics off. I gave you the floor. You ran with it. Then you left me by myself to talk. Come,
hey,
bro.
I'll hit you in the chat.
Thank you, bro. All right, man. We don't do no overtime, man. Even though he left me by myself, we don't do no overtime.
He was good for 3 minutes. What's wrong? Come on, dog.
That's 3 minutes we could have saved. You know what?
All right, I got you. Man.
We don't do no overtime, y'all. We are out of here.